with the shot. In the corner, locked Kevin Smith. Battle for that puck, and Smith gets it out to center ice. Turning inside the Soviet zone is Tregubov. Being followed by Lenardin. Passing, but it's only one, but I get it. He scores!
When I grew up, Harold Jones grew up, Seth Martin grew up. I mean, the thing in our mind was not only were we playing for ourselves, but we were playing for the town and we were playing for the people. We were playing for Trail people, not individuals. And I think that most all of us that grew up, if you listen to Ferrero, or you listen to Tambellini, or you listen, they always mention Trail, never lose their tradition.
Nothing greater than being with the guys and playing a game. Sure, you lost some, but it wasn't always fun when you lost. But I mean, that goes with it. Me, this is the ultimate. I could do this for every year for the rest of my life, as far as hockey is concerned.
Go out and do and try your best. Adds a little bit there. You get a gold medal if you're dedicated. You work at it and don't get disappointed. Keep at it.
The city of Trail was born a frontier mining town in the mid-1890s, owing its livelihood to the gold and copper mines in nearby Rossland. As hockey was developing as a national pastime, the miners and smelter workers in the West Kootenay region were quick to organize games among neighboring communities. By 1899, mid-January to late February, games between Trail and Rossland took place nearly every weekend. A 3-car train called the Hockey Special shuttled dozens of spectators between the two towns on the day of the games. The enthusiasm of the Trail fans, with their tin horns and the specially composed chants they sang, proved that they were ready to celebrate Trail's victory. On December 12th of 1903, the Trail Hockey Club was officially formed. In those formative years, the Trail Hockey Club played mostly against Rossland, with occasional exhibition games against visiting teams at the Rossland Winter Carnival. On December 27, 1908, the British Columbia Hockey League was formed. As the city of Trail lacked a decent rink, it was not invited to join the league, but that did not prevent the Trail players from being recruited by Rossland and Nelson clubs. By 1911, teams of junior, intermediate, and senior caliber were active in both Trail and Rossland, and the hockey rivalry was at a fever pitch. In December of that year, a dramatic breakthrough of the evolution of Trail's hockey history came to fruition. The city's first fully roofed indoor rink was opened. First called the Fruit Fair Building, and later to be renamed the Riverside Arena, the rink was used for a variety of community activities, including produce exhibitions, curling, and carnivals.
There was no seats, there were balconies, and they were standing up in the balconies on all sides of the rink.
That old arena was just historical. I mean, it was too bad. It's too bad it had to be tore down, because it was so, the seats were like the boards and everything was straight up then. It wasn't, it wasn't fancy. And on the end, they had a seating capacity there, but they had a great big piece of screen on the end, and they were, where you could sit there, like it was sort of gradual on both ends. But it was gorgeous rink. It was old, but it was nice.
The Trail team became league champions in 1914, winning the first of many Daily News Cups. This firmly established Trail's status as a hockey power in the Kootenay boundary. The league's teams included Rossland, Nelson, Grand Forks, Greenwood, and Phoenix. Some unique rules were adopted, most notably that the players had to have numbers affixed to their sweaters. Interestingly, this was a full 10 years before the National Hockey League made numbers mandatory. A $2,000 challenge in 1916 between Trail and Phoenix was sparked by an overzealous Trail supporter. He said he would put up a $1,000 cash prize for a one-game winner-takes-all challenge against Phoenix. This received much attention and fueled the fire of the communities and, more importantly, the players. The Phoenix Pioneer reports,
"Never has there been such a more enthusiastic crowd in expectation of a keenly contested game. Each side cheered repeatedly for their respective teams as they entered the arena."
They tied a 2-2 score, but 3 days later, in front of the largest crowd in the shortest history of the Fruit Fair building, Trail got superb goaltending from Joe Vanatter and 3 goals from Speed Moynes en route to a 7-3 shellacking of the Phoenix team. A $2,000 cash prize was promptly divided between the players. Hockey was brought to a standstill between the years of 1917 and 1920 due to the outbreak of the war, and also due to the fact that many of the players in the league were leaving to play in the Eastern Pro Leagues. In 1922 to 1923, the Trail Tigers underlined the BCAHA's confidence in interior hockey. By winning the Larson Cup that season, the Tigers became the first team from Trail to contest for a full-fledged BC title. The 1923-1924 season was a breakthrough year for hockey in the West Kootenays. Trail's George Murray became the first elected member of the BCAHA executive. He promptly made his mark by organizing 2 senior circuits, the East Kootenay League and the West Kootenay League. In the spring of 1926, amateur hockey for Trail was organized. It was decided that Trail would have 2 teams, a senior club and an intermediate club. This proved to be the start of a long and memorable road for Trail's hockey history. In the fall of 1927, the Fruit Fair building on the bank of the Columbia River became the first between Winnipeg and Vancouver to install an artificial ice plant. Now, the Trail seniors could get an early jump start on their West Kootenay rivals by practicing in October and November. The 1926-1927 season marked the beginning of Trail's rise to hockey fame. Captain Carol Kendall and manager-coach Dick Dimmock had his charges whipped into shape. In that year, for the first time in its history, the team won the Savage Cup, emblematic of provincial hockey supremacy. In 1927-1928, Trail won the Daily News Cup, McBride Cup, Savage Cup, and the Meikle Modern Electric Trophy. This truly ignited hockey fever in the city, inasmuch as they had to even make extra seating to accommodate the larger crowds at the Fruit Fair building. With provincial championships now becoming a habit, the Trail team captured the Savage Cup for the 3rd consecutive year. It was during this title-clinching game between the Vancouver Monarchs that the legendary name, Smoke Eaters, was born. Midway through the second period of that game, with the score tied, Trail defenseman Howard Anderson chopped the skates out from under a Vancouver player who was moving in for a clear shot on goal. The capacity crowd roared for a penalty, which was immediately called, and showered the Trail bench with debris. One item tossed at the Trail bench was a lit corncob pipe still billowing smoke. Carol Kendall, who had scored the winning goal in the opening game, picked the pipe up and skated out onto the ice for his next shift. Puffing smoke with every breath, Kendall proceeded to put on a dazzling display of stick handling and successfully killed off Anderson's penalty. The very next day, the story was published in the Vancouver Province by sports writer A.R. Dingman, and it was accompanied by a cartoon by Jack Booth. It referred to the Trail contingent as the Smoke Eaters, a nickname so fitting for the Smelter City crew that it was formally adopted as the team's name the next season.
Minor hockey started officially about 1934, 35, in that area somewhere around there. Fred Edmonds started it. I played for the Caledonians. Those days the Caledonians had a team, the Ninth of Pythias had a team, the Oddfellows had a team, the Colbo Lodge had a team, and when it came to the juveniles, they had the Conservatives, the Liberals, and the Thistles.
In the 30s, hockey became a major part of the city's culture. From the formation of the Booster Club to assist young boys in the playing of the game, to the establishment of the Trail Junior Smoke Eaters, who became just as successful as their senior counterparts. And it wasn't just the guys who wanted to play hockey. The women wanted to play as well. Women's hockey in trail was introduced in the year of 1928. Later in 1955, in an attempt to provide more winter activities for young women in the area, the Trail Athletic Association organized one of the first female hockey divisions in the province. There were 4 teams: the Clubs, the Diamonds, Aces, and Hearts. And the Clubs won the inaugural city title by blanking the Diamonds 2-0 in the championship final. Between the years of 1937 and 1939, trail hockey history became firmly established in Canada as well as in the world. In 1938, Trail earned the right to represent British Columbia in the Allen Cup Finals held in Calgary, Alberta. 700 enthusiastic fans boarded the train, aptly dubbed the Smoke Eater Special, to support the Orange and Black. Trail quickly demonstrated its superior hockey style by crushing the Calgary Rangers in the interprovincial playoffs. They then went on to outscore Flin Flon in the best-of-3 for the Western Canadian semifinals. With the brilliant goaltending duo of Buchanan and Scottalero and the scoring line of Ab Crony, Joe Benoit, and Bunny Dane, Trail was quick to take down Port Arthur in the Western Canadian finals. Now facing the Eastern Division winners, the Cornwall Flyers, onlookers were mesmerized by the Trail team's unique style and playing techniques. It was no wonder that they were so fittingly nicknamed the Mountain Magicians. They were simply magic on ice. The Trail team returned home to one of the city's largest celebrations and parade. The tradition of the Smoke Eaters riding through the streets on a fire truck had also begun. Later, the team enjoyed a private banquet hosted by the Godfather himself, Curly Pisapio. This rare footage shows the players and management enjoying their victory.
I think it was around the 11th of November that we left for Europe. And we played right across Canada and then went across on the steamboat.
By winning the Allen Cup, the Trail Smoke Eaters also won the right to represent Canada in the World Championship tournament held in Europe. Interestingly, the Canadian Hockey Association would not flip the bill for the standard Canadian jerseys that were traditionally worn in the international competitions. It is also worth noting, Trail wore one set of jerseys during its entire 5 months away. The Trail Smoke Eater emblem and name was now on its way to becoming one of the most recognizable in all of the world. the Smoke Eaters played an exhausting exhibition schedule throughout Europe. Most games were played outdoors before sellout crowds.